I'm not here to sugarcoat this. Picture yourself driving through some godforsaken mountain pass in the middle of nowhere. The weather forecast? Yeah, they said light snow. Those meteorologists were full of shit. Out of absolutely nowhere, you're hit with what can only be described as nature's middle finger, a full-blown whiteout. We're talking zero visibility. You literally can't see the front of your own damn car. It's just you and this impenetrable wall of white static. So naturally, you do what any rational person would do. You hit the brakes. Except there's a problem. The road beneath you isn't actually a road anymore. It's transformed into what's basically a slip and slide made of pure ice. Black ice, to be specific, which is the universe's way of saying, screw you in particular. Your car doesn't stop. Yeah, it doesn't even slow down in any meaningful way. Instead, it just slides. Sideways, like some kind of horrible ice skating routine you never signed up for. And then gravity takes over. The vehicle goes careening off the shoulder and drops straight into a ditch like a rock into a well. The good news? You're not dead. You're not even injured, really. Just rattled as hell and probably questioning every life decision that led you to this moment. But hey, you're breathing, and that's something. So you grab your phone because that's what we do in 2025, right? Except surprise, surprise, no signal. Not even one measly bar. Because of course there isn't. You're in the middle of absolutely nowhere, buried in a ditch during a blizzard. Why would you expect cell service? Well, you make what seems like the sensible choice. Sit tight and wait for someone to come help you. I mean, what else are you going to do? But here's where things go from bad to holy shit, this is actually how I die. The snow doesn't let up, not even a little bit. In fact, it gets worse, significantly worse. We're talking biblical proportions here. Over the next few hours, you watch, increasingly horrified, as your car gets progressively buried. First, it's just the windows. Then it's the entire vehicle. Before you know it, there's 4 solid feet of heavy, compressed snow completely encasing your car. You're not just stuck anymore. You're entombed, buried alive in a metal casket. The silence is what gets you first. It's not peaceful. It's oppressive, suffocating. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring and your thoughts scream. And the temperature? Yeah, that's dropping fast, real fast. You can see your breath turning into clouds inside the cabin, and you're starting to shiver uncontrollably. This is when survival instinct overrides rational thought. You're freezing your ass off, and there's a perfectly good ignition right in front of you. Your brain starts rationalizing. Just start the car, turn on the heater, warm up while you wait for morning. What's the harm? Hold that thought right there. Stop. Do not turn that key. I'm dead serious. Because if you fire up that engine and while your car is completely buried under snow, you're not warming yourself up. You're constructing your own gas chamber. You're actively choosing to die, even if you don't realize it yet. The real threat you're facing right now isn't hypothermia, even though, yeah, that'll eventually kill you too if you give it enough hours. No, the immediate danger is something far more insidious. Something you can't see, can't smell, and can't taste until it's already too late. If you're not aware of the specific survival protocol, particularly the 10-minute rule I'm about to explain, you could easily close your eyes thinking you're just taking a quick nap and you will never ever wake up again. That's not dramatic exaggeration. That's just physics and biology doing their thing. So let me break down exactly what you need to do to survive this nightmare scenario. We're going to cover the actual science behind freezing to death, how the so-called Igloo Effect works, and the psychological traps that make people do incredibly stupid things, like abandoning their vehicle to wander into a whiteout, which is basically suicide with extra steps. The science of being buried alive in snow. First, let's talk about what's actually happening to your environment right now. When snow completely buries your car, and I mean completely, as in you can't see outside anymore, it does something interesting. It insulates you. Survivalists have a term for this, the Igloo Effect. Now, before you get excited thinking great free insulation, understand that this is a double-edged sword. Sure, it protects you from the wind chill outside, which in a blizzard can be absolutely brutal, hitting wind chills of negative 50 or 60 degrees. But here's the catch. While it's keeping the extreme cold out, it's also sealing you in. Completely. Like vacuum packing yourself in a car-shaped container. Your average mid-size sedan, let's say a Honda Accord or Toyota Camry, contains approximately 100 to 120 cubic feet of breathable air. That sounds like a lot, right? And honestly, if you're just sitting there calmly, doing nothing, you've got enough oxygen to last for a considerable amount of time. We're talking many hours here. But here's where human psychology screws you over. When you panic, and let's be real, most people in this situation are going to panic, your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your heart rate doesn't just increase a little, it doubles, sometimes triples. And when your heart is pounding like that, you're not breathing normally anymore. You're hyperventilating, sucking down oxygen like it's going out of style. The math is brutal. Panic burns through your limited oxygen supply roughly 3 times faster than if you were just sitting there in a resting state, 3 times faster. So those many hours of breathable air, yeah, those just became a couple of hours if you can't get your shit together. This is why the absolute first thing you need to do before anything else is get your mind right. I'm talking serious mental discipline here. You need to force yourself to stop moving entirely for at least 60 full seconds. Just freeze. Don't touch anything. Don't thrash around. Don't even think about your next move yet. Focus entirely on your breathing. Slow it down. Make it deliberate. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Count the breaths if you have to. This isn't some woo-woo meditation bullshit. This is practical survival. So every single molecule of oxygen you have is now a precious resource, and you need to treat it that way. Stop wasting it on panic. The engine, your potential executioner. Once you've got your breathing under control and you're not actively hyperventilating anymore, you need to address the elephant in the room, the engine. This is legitimately where most people die in these situations. No exaggeration. There's this persistent, dangerous myth that a lot of people believe, if I keep my windows rolled up, the exhaust fumes will stay outside where they belong. This is completely, scientifically, demonstrably false, and believing it will kill you. Here's what actually happens when your car is buried in snow. The tailpipe, that pipe at the back of your car where exhaust comes out, gets blocked, completely packed with snow. Yeah, the engine is still trying to push exhaust gases out because that's what engines do, but there's nowhere for those gases to go. So what happens? The exhaust creates a high-pressure pocket of gas right underneath your chassis. And gases, being gases, follow a very simple rule. They move from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure. Always, without exception. Your car, despite seeming pretty solid, is not actually airtight, not even close. There are tiny cracks everywhere, in the floorboards, around the vents, in the trunk seals, and that pressurized exhaust gas is going to find every single one of those cracks and force its way inside your cabin. Now let's talk about what's in that exhaust. The main killer is carbon monoxide, or CO. This stuff is genuinely terrifying because it's odorless. You can't smell it. Yeah, it's colorless. You can't see it. It's tasteless. You can't detect it in any way. You won't cough, you won't choke, you won't have any of the warning signs you'd expect from breathing in something toxic. You'll just start to feel a little tired, maybe a bit drowsy. I'll just close my eyes for a minute, you'll think, and then your heart stops. That's it. Game over. The first critical actions. So here's what you need to do, and the order matters. Do not, and I cannot stress this enough, do not immediately try to force your car door open. I know that's your instinct. You want out of this metal tomb. But if you shove that door open right now, several hundred pounds of snow are going to rush into your cabin, filling it completely, and you're going to go from cold and trapped to frozen solid in about 30 seconds. Instead, your first physical action needs to be creating what's called a chimney. You need to crack open a window, but not just any window. Open one on the side of the car that's away from the wind direction. If you can figure out which way the wind is blowing, maybe you remember from before you got buried, open the opposite window. And when I say crack, I mean crack. You don't need to roll it all the way down. In fact, you don't even need it halfway down. Just 1 inch. That's it, 1 single inch of opening. This small opening serves 2 critical purposes. First, it breaks the vacuum seal that the snow has created around your car. Second, it establishes a fresh air exchange. The carbon monoxide can vent out through this opening, and fresh oxygen from outside can flow in. It's basic physics, but it'll save your life. Now, so once you've got that window cracked, you need to check on the tailpipe situation. If you can safely push the door open without causing a snow avalanche into your car, get outside and immediately clear the snow away from your exhaust pipe. Don't just clear the pipe itself. Dig a small tunnel or trench behind your car that leads away from the vehicle. This gives the exhaust gases a path to escape into the open air instead of pooling underneath your chassis. The fatal assumption about running the engine. Okay, so you've cleared the pipe. You've got your window cracked. Now you're thinking, perfect, problem solved. I can just keep the engine running and stay warm until someone finds me. Easy. Stop right there. This is the second most common fatal mistake people make in this scenario, right after running the engine with a blocked tailpipe. Also, even with a clear exhaust pipe, you absolutely cannot leave your engine running continuously. Here's why. Blizzards are chaotic. The wind doesn't blow steadily in one direction. It shifts. It swirls. It creates weird pressure zones and eddies. 1 minute your exhaust is venting away from the car just fine. The next minute, the wind shifts, and suddenly those gases are being pushed right back underneath your vehicle. They get sucked into your air intake system, and boom, you're breathing carbon monoxide again. Plus, there's another issue, the snow. It keeps falling, it keeps accumulating. That tailpipe you just cleared, give it 20 minutes and it could be blocked again. You'd have to keep going outside every few minutes to re-clear it, which means you're losing body heat every time you exit the vehicle, getting soaked from the snow, and burn precious energy. So instead, you need to follow what experienced survival experts call the 10 and 50 rule. This is non-negotiable if you want to live. Here's how it works. Run your engine for exactly 10 minutes every hour. That's it. 10 minutes of engine time, then 50 minutes of complete shutdown. No cheating, no, just 5 more minutes because I'm still cold. Stick to the schedule religiously. Those 10 minutes serve multiple purposes. They recharge your battery, which you'll need for your dome light later. They give you a precious window of warmth, and they keep your engine from freezing solid, which would leave you with no heating option at all. But why only 10 minutes? Simple. Fuel conservation and risk management. You have no idea how long you're going to be stuck here. Could be a few hours, could be days. Stretching your fuel supply is critical, and limiting your engine run time to just 10 minutes per hour dramatically reduces your exposure to carbon monoxide poisoning. And here's the key detail that a lot of people forget. Every single time you turn that engine on for your 10-minute warming cycle, you need to make absolutely sure that window is still cracked open. Never run the engine with all windows fully closed, even if you think the tailpipe is clear. The cross-ventilation is your insurance policy against CO buildup. Surviving the 50-minute cold periods. Now let's address the 50 minutes when the engine is off and you're just sitting there in the freezing cold. This is where resourcefulness becomes everything. Your car is full of potential insulation materials. You just have to know where to look and how to use them. First, what I put on every single piece of clothing you have access to. I don't care if you've got a gym bag in the trunk with dirty laundry. Put on. Got a spare jacket under the seat? Wear it. Multiple layers are your friend. But here's something most people don't think of. If you have newspapers, maps, or even the owner's manual, stuff those under your shirt against your body. Paper is an exceptionally good insulator because it traps air in tiny pockets between the fibers. It's the same principle as modern insulation in houses. Next, you need to address your windows. Glass is a terrible insulator. In fact, it's a heat vampire, actively sucking warmth out of your car and dumping it into the outside environment. This is basic thermodynamics, so grab your floor mats, those rubber or fabric mats under by your feet, and wedge them into the window frames. You're creating a barrier between the cold glass and the interior air. If you have a blanket or jacket you're not wearing, drape it over the windows. Every little bit helps. To generate body heat during these cold periods, you need to keep moving, but strategically. Clap your hands together, flex and unflex your muscles, particularly the large muscle groups like your thighs and core. Do some seated isometric exercises where you tense muscle groups and hold them. But here's the critical warning. Do not, under any circumstances, work up a sweat. I'm serious about this. Breaking a sweat in sub-zero temperatures is essentially a death sentence. Here's why. When you sweat, the moisture saturates your clothing. And wet clothes in freezing temperatures conduct heat away from your body approximately 25 times faster than dry air. You'll go from generating warmth to hypothermic in frighteningly short order. So if you start to feel yourself sweating, and I mean even just a little bit of moisture on your skin, stop moving immediately. Sit still. Let your body temperature regulate back down. You're trying to stay warm, not cook yourself. The hydration trap. After a few hours of sitting in this frozen metal box, you're going to get thirsty. The air inside a car in these conditions is incredibly dry. Your body is still losing moisture through breathing, even in the cold. And here you are, literally surrounded by an infinite supply of water in the form of snow. Your brain, getting a bit desperate and maybe not thinking clearly due to stress, will suggest the obvious solution. Just eat the snow. It's right there. Do not eat the snow. This is crucial. I don't care how thirsty you are. When you eat snow, which is frozen solid at well below 0 degrees, you're putting something into your mouth and stomach that's maybe 20 or 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Your body, which is trying desperately to maintain a core temperature of 98.6 degrees, now has to expend a massive amount of energy warming that snow up, melting it, and bringing it to body temperature. You're essentially forcing your body to waste precious calories you desperately need for staying warm, on melting ice in your digestive system. It's one of the fastest ways to accelerate hypothermia. Instead, here's what you do. Take some snow and put it in a bottle, a plastic bag, or even just a glove. Then take that container and place it inside your jacket. Awesome, ideally under your armpit where you've got good blood flow and body heat. Let your body heat slowly melt the snow over 20 or 30 minutes. Once it's liquid and has had a chance to warm up even slightly, then you can drink it. You're still using body heat to melt it, but you're doing it in a way that doesn't shock your system or waste nearly as much energy. This is Survival 101. Every single calorie counts. Every decision you make should be evaluated through the lens of, am I wasting energy I don't have to waste? If the answer is yes, find another way. The psychological battle of darkness. As the hours drag on and daylight fades, you're going to face a different kind of challenge. The mental game. The darkness inside a snowberry car is absolute. It's oppressive, heavy. The kind of darkness that makes you feel like you're floating in a void. You're going to want to sleep. God, you're going to want to sleep so badly. You're exhausted from the stress, from the cold, from the constant vigilance. Your body is screaming for rest. If you're alone in the vehicle, you need to establish a strict rule right now, and you need to enforce it no matter how tired you get. Only sleep when the engine is off, and the car keys must be in your pocket, not in the ignition. This rule serves a critical purpose. It prevents you from accidentally falling asleep with the engine running. Because if you drift off while the engine is on, you might never wake up. The carbon monoxide will take you in your sleep. By forcing yourself to only sleep during the 50-minute off periods and keeping the keys physically on your person, you're creating a safeguard against this scenario. If you want to sleep, you have to turn the engine off and pocket the keys first. No exceptions. The fatal temptation to leave. At some point, usually after several hours of this ordeal, desperation starts to creep in. Your situation hasn't improved. You're cold, you're scared, and you're starting to wonder if anyone even knows you're missing. Then you see it, a flicker of light in the distance. Maybe. You think it's a light. Could be a house, could be a rescue vehicle, could be your mind playing tricks on you in the darkness. But it's something. Your brain immediately jumps to, I should make a run for it. I should try to reach that light. Anything is better than sitting here waiting to freeze to death. Listen to me very carefully. Unless you can clearly, unambiguously see a building with lights on within a couple hundred yards, and I mean you can see the actual structure, not just a vague glow, you do not leave this vehicle. Period. End of discussion. Leaving your car in a blizzard whiteout scenario is the #1 cause of death in these situations. Not carbon monoxide, not hypothermia from staying put. Leaving the vehicle. Here's what happens when you step out into a whiteout. Within about 30 seconds, you lose all sense of direction. You can't see landmarks. You can't see the car you just left. You can't see anything except white in every direction. You think you're walking in a straight line toward that light you saw, but you're not. Humans, when deprived of visual reference points, naturally walk in circles. It's been proven over and over again. You'll wander in increasingly erratic patterns until you collapse from exhaustion or hypothermia, and you'll die buried in a snowdrift where no one will find you until the spring thaw. Your car, on the other hand, is a large visible object. When the weather clears or when rescue teams start searching, they're scanning for vehicles. They've got thermal imaging, they've got visibility from helicopters, they've got search patterns designed to find cars on roads. A car is exponentially easier to spot than a human body. Your vehicle is your shelter, your beacon, and your best chance of being found. Abandoning it is giving up your primary survival advantage, making yourself visible to rescuers. So if you're not leaving the car, how do you increase your chances of being found? Active signaling and visibility enhancement. Well, if the snow is let up at all and you can safely exit the vehicle without getting immediately buried, get outside and clear off the roof of your car. Create as much color contrast as possible. A dark roof against white snow is visible from aircraft from miles away. Pop your hood and prop it open. A raised hood is a universally recognized distress signal. Every rescue team knows this. It immediately communicates vehicle in trouble, assistance needed. If you have anything bright colored, and I mean anything, a scarf, a jacket, a toe strap, even a plastic bag, tie it to your antenna or the side mirror. That splash of color can catch a rescuer's eye when everything else just blends into the white landscape. At night, your dome light becomes your best friend. Turn it on. Yes, it uses battery power, but not nearly as much as you'd think. One day, a dome light can run for many, many hours on a decent car battery without draining it completely. And that light can be seen for literally miles in the pitch darkness of a nighttime blizzard. The discipline of routine. Finally, the key to surviving this ordeal isn't doing something heroic or extraordinary. It's maintaining your routine with absolute discipline. Every hour, check the tailpipe to make sure it's still clear. Run the engine for exactly 10 minutes with the window cracked. Turn off the engine and pocket the keys. Hydrate using your body-warmed water. Rest during the 50-minute off period. Repeat, survival in extreme conditions isn't about fighting nature or trying to overpower the elements. Nature will win that fight every single time. Survival is about discipline, about following proven protocols, about managing your resources, and about staying mentally sharp enough to avoid the psychological traps that kill people. Remember the core survival triad. Clear the exhaust pipe, crack the window for ventilation, and never abandon the vehicle unless you can see your destination clearly. These 3 rules, followed religiously, are the difference between being a survival story and being a statistic. The people who die in these scenarios almost always violate at least one of these rules. They run the engine continuously with a blocked pipe. They seal themselves in completely. They panic and run off into the storm. Don't be that person. Stay disciplined, stay patient, stay alive.